to my YouTube channel. In this tutorial, let's continue the previous part of mushroom modeling. That we have done in the previous tutorial was UV unwrapping, and you should follow different many steps along the tutorial in order to understand how to UV unwrap 3D mesh like this. And to have this mushroom in this tutorial, I'm just gonna be showing you the multi-resolution modifier. So in this tutorial over there, we'll be looking at the multi-resolution modifier and how it can be used to increase the geometry of our mesh. The reason we need to increase the amount of geometry is that we will be adding finer details to our mesh using sculpting brushes, but more on sculpting later in this tutorial. So first things first, we need to go back to main layout by clicking the layout at the top as shown here. Just gonna be taking you to layout and to modeling workspace. With your object selected in 3D viewport editor as shown here, click the modifier properties, go over here, click on this adjustable range like this. In the side panel to bring up the modifier properties panel. So you should click to add the modifier and select multi-resolution under generate colon like this. Go over multi-resolution modifier. Let's add it. The multi-resolution modifier shown in the following screenshot works similar to the subdivision surface modifier, but it allows you to set a different subdivision levels for viewport, sculpt, and render, which is exactly what we need. Click on it. It's gonna be showing this menu. Click the simple button 4 times until you have a level viewport, sculpt. So let's go ahead to show you step by step in order to understand what I mean. So just go over this button. So let's click on it 3 times. Like this, gonna be subdividing our mesh. And there is something very interesting. You should keep it in your mind. When working with the multi-resolution modifier, it is important to keep note of number of faces, edges, and vertices in your scene, as this modifier can increase the level of geometry drastically. So let's move on, and to show you statistics overlay, go over here. So let's check it in order to show statistics in order to know the number of vertices, edges, faces, and which mesh you are working on. So let me show you in this section how to sculpt finer details. In order to sculpt finer details, in this section we'll be making use of different sculpting brushes to add finer details to our mushroom model. Setting up the sculpting workspace. Firstly, let's start by making some minor changes to the sculpting workspace. Click your model in 3D viewport to select it as shown here in our example. Click the sculpting tab at the top of the interface to enter the sculpting workspace. Click on it, just wait for some seconds in order to switch it like this. It's gonna be switching the sculpting workspace as shown in our example like this. So let's disable fast navigate by clicking the options drop down like this. Go over here, so let's disable it like this. Removing the tick from the box next to fast navigate as shown here. This will disable a low resolution preview of the sculpt when orbiting around your model like this. This option can be enabled again if you are working with a complex sculpting model that causes the viewport slow down. So now let's expand the 2 sidebars so that we can see the names of the sculpting brushes. Place your mouse cursor on the edge like this. of the toolbar and click and drag to the right, and you can see the brush names as shown in our example. So before we start sculpting, you should know and keep in your mind some basics, how to use some brushes like a grab brush, draw brush, and many other different brushes. I will leave the link in descriptions, and for many videos if you want to watch many videos about how to use brushes and the sculpting for absolute beginners like you. So sculpting basics. Before we start adding finer details to our 3D model, which is a mesh raw model, let's take a moment to look at the basics of sculpting. We'll be using default cube to demonstrate how the sculpting brushes work. So just I'm gonna be working on this mushroom model. We have here at the top, it's the brushes is set to draw brush as shown here. We have the radius and we have the strength and some different parameters and values that are gonna be controlling the sculpting and how manner do you use to push some different parts on your 3D model and to draw on it and making some wrinkles and whatever you want if you want to change the topology using different kinds of brushes. So radius over there as defined in my previous tutorials. I will leave some links in description if you want to get and to go ahead with some brushes. So radius affects the size of your sculpting brush and strength will adjust the strength of the brush as shown here, shown in our example. So just I want to show you something. It's gonna be affecting strength. Let's increase the radius. It's gonna be making the radius as shown in our example much more bigger. Also we have another important tool, which is the two pen icons next to the radius and strength size. Strength are the size, pressure and strength pressure settings. This can be enabled to have your pen pressure affect either the radius and strength as shown here of the brush. If you are using a stylus or a tablet as shown here, I prefer to disable both, but feel free to experiment to see what works best for you. You can also change the radius of the brush by using shortcut key F. Hit F and drag from right to left is going to be changing the radius of the brush like this. Hit enter using the left mouse button to confirm. So the next step, also I want to show you other parameters you should set like this. You can adjust the strength of your brush by using the shortcut Shift F. Shift F is gonna be showing this control settings, and drag the mouse from left to right or from right to left like this in order to set the strength like this. So to start sculpting on your model, simply hold and left click and drag across your model to create your first sculpt. Experiment with radius and strength to see how they affect the sculpt. So just I want to set it to, I don't know, 50 for example, the radius 50 pixels. Also, if you want to change the direction is going out, so how to set it in order to go in like this and pushing in. So just you can change the direction of your sculpting brush between add and subtract. We have over here this plus sign and this minus sign. For example, this is gonna be pushing the topology in like this, as shown in our example over there. And you can do it yourself like this. Let's try sculpting on the model while holding the control key. Can you see the difference? Hold control key and sculpt. But just I want to undo. This is just a tips in order to show you how to start with sculpting. If you want to smooth out some edges and some sections as shown here, so just to go over the smooth brush, so let's activate it. You can use it to smooth some sharp edges as shown here, as sculpted sharp edges as shown in our example over there. So let's move on to sculpt finer details on our 3D mushroom as shown in our example here. Now that you have a basic understanding what I have talked about in sculpting workspace and how to use the sculpting brushes, let's add some finer details to the underside of our mushroom mesh. Orbit your 3D viewport. As shown here, you can orbit your 3D viewport in order to set it in any position you want to sculpt to be so better. So orbit your 3D viewport so that you have a better view for the underside of the mushroom like this. Click the gyrol brush, scroll up the mouse wheel, click on gyrol brush. Just I want to set the strength like this. In this case I want to set the radius to 20 pixels and the strength dot 0.4 like this. You can use your own values and anything you see it better. So I want to sculpt like this. So now it's time to add our first sculpting stroke. Position the mouse pointer to the underside of the mushroom and then click and drag outward toward the edge of the top part of the mushroom. Be sure to undo and try again until you are happy with the result. So let's orbit around. Just like this. Ctrl Z to undo. If you have some mistakes,